Does your electric bill have your eyes popping? You're not alone. New England residents, especially in rural areas, are charged some of the highest rates for power in the country. So what's different about rural areas? I got answers from River Strong, Associate Director of the UMASS Clean Energy Extension, Bill Stack, an energy efficiency expert with Eversource Energy, and Susan Sayre, Smith College economics professor.
There's actually a number of reasons why residents in New England might be charged higher energy prices. One of the big reasons actually has to do with natural gas capacity. We use a lot of natural gas to fire our electricity plants, and at our winter peaks, the capacity of natural gas into the region doesn't quite meet the demand. And there's a couple of things we can do to try to address that. We could obviously build capacity. That's very expensive. The other thing, however, we could do is try to lower our peak energy demand. And if we can lower our peak energy demand, that's going to lower those peak prices, and it'll actually help bring electricity prices down, and then people in the region would pay less.
And we'll talk some more in a bit about specific things that folks can do, which is why some of our other guests are here today. But I want to look a little bit at more at this American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy report. Long title, that's why I needed to read it off the paper. It was released last July, just last month, not too long ago. And some of the things that it pointed out is the burden that falls on people who live in rural areas. So what's different about living in a rural area that would drive energy costs?
Well, often rural communities are more spread out, so they're spending more time driving, so that will often raise energy costs. They'll also have older housing stock, which will tend to be leakier, won't be as new and as efficient. And also access to natural gas is very limited in rural areas, so more dependence on delivered fuels such as fuel oil and propane, which tend to be more expensive.
The report also is focusing on the percentage of income that's being spent on energy.
Right.
And we also see that on average, rural residents in New England have lower incomes than metropolitan residents. So even if they were spending the same dollar amount on energy, it's going to be a higher percentage.
Hitting them higher. And then when you dig deeper into that, when you look at minority groups, the elderly, people who are renting, they're getting hit even harder because, again, they're probably earning even less money than maybe some of their peers are. And the percentages are quite high. Among the elderly, 44%, minorities, 19%, and renters, 29%. Again, it's that percentage of household income. But, you know, why those three groups in particular? What makes the difference among those groups? Do we know?
Again, living in older housing can be a major hit on the bottom line. And then again, as you said, the relationship with the income, so those populations that you listed tend to have lower incomes, so that increases that burden percentage.
And I know that there are some things that people can do if they're living in that older housing stock. Some energy efficiency steps that they could take, right? What are
we do? Yeah, we sponsor UMASS Save, which offers a vast array of energy efficiency tips, but also programs where customers can save energy. To River's point about the older housing stocks, a lot of these homes are unweatherized. There's no insulation in the walls, maybe some in the attic, but by and large, a lot of these homes were built before codes and standards required insulation levels, and so we offer programs that help people offset any types of costs to improve the efficiency in their home. Weatherization, adding insulation, we have up to 75% off the total cost of adding insulation to your home. And the lower income and seniors that may be on fixed incomes, if they qualify for our income eligible, low income programs, a lot of the steps that we suggest during a home energy assessment, whether it be adding insulation, updating their heating system, a lot of that can be at no cost to them if they participate in the programs.
And when you come in and have the energy audit done, I had one done on my own home a few years ago, and I was thinking, especially about the insulation, like, oh, you're only going to focus in the attic. You don't even think about the things that need to be done between the walls. So there can be spray-in insulation. There are things that you're not going to tear your house apart entirely, right?
No, exactly. No, we work from the outside, and they'll move a couple of shingles or perhaps whatever the siding is on the home, and then they will blow in the insulation that way as well. And all of this has gone over with the homeowner to begin with. During that home energy assessment from the attic all the way down the basement, where they look at all the energy usage and then offer personal suggestions as to what you can do in your home to improve the efficiency. That's the homeowner hears the whole story as to what's going on, what needs to be done, and then in addition, all the different incentive levels and rebate dollars that are available to that customer to participate.
Yeah. And River, I know some of the things you're looking at UMass are alternative energy options, right?
That's right.
So what are you helping people to understand about that and how that might help reduce their energy costs?
Right. So one of the big cost factors with homes and businesses is heating costs. We talked about propane and the dependence on fuel oil. There's also renewable thermal technologies that are up and coming, and the state is really working hard to promote, and we're playing a part in that. That includes air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, solar thermal, and modern clean wood burning. So one program that the state has that's really encouraging is a wood stove change-out program, which takes some of those older wood stoves that use junk wood, and they encourage them and incentivize them to upgrade to more efficient wood stoves and pellet boilers and wood chip boilers. So we're actively working with communities, businesses, farms, and residences to help promote these programs and just get the word out.
Sort of part of the rural charm, right, of maybe having a wood stove in your home, and you think, oh, I'm chopping down the wood, this is great, this is an alternative way to heat my home, but it can be less than efficient, right?
It can be, and the technology is improving. So often these wood stoves that are 10 or 20 years old, the efficiencies have increased dramatically in the last decade or so.
And is it because you're using pellets instead of wood, or what's behind that efficiency?
Well, both technologies exist and are still viable, so you can still go out and chop your wood. And they say wood heats twice, right? When you're chopping it and when you're burning it. So there's very efficient wood stoves, and so that's what the wood stove change-out program is incentivizing, is just upgrading your wood stove, basically. And there's also incentives available for pellets, which are a processed fuel that you get delivered to your house, or now chips, dried chips that are also processed. They're bigger and they're a little less costly than pellets.
Something else that the report pointed out that I kind of scratched my head over for a second was the fact that broadband access also can impact energy. And then when I thought about it, I was like, oh, of course, because you might be using an app to control, say, an automatic thermostat or turn off your lights remotely. But we also know here in Western Massachusetts, there are sections of communities that have no broadband access whatsoever. So are there other, can people still use the old-fashioned way, thermostats that are programmable that you blink in on the wall? What's a stopgap measure for people?
Certainly the programmable thermostats are, you can pick those up at Home Depot and you can just program them. That's actually what I have in my home, even though I do have internet access.
And during the home energy assessment, it's no cost when that energy specialist is in your house. If you want programmable thermostats, if you have oil, gas, or propane heat, those can be installed at no cost during the time of the home energy assessment. Now, if you want to go Wi-Fi, the higher technology, there's a discounted installation charge for that. And if you want to just pick up a Wi-Fi at Home Depot, a Lowe's, or any type of Ace Hardware store, we offer a $100 rebate towards the purchase of those Wi-Fi.
Because those tend to be a lot more expensive. So if people are looking to save money, you sort of have to do the cost benefit of when am I going to get my return on this money.
And that's why it's great if you have a home energy assessment. So many things are done at no cost. Look, go in and take out all your incandescent bulbs and put in LEDs, water flow devices, water saving devices we put in, as well as the thermostats, the programmable thermostats. Those will all be done at the time of the assessment. Because there's a surcharge on every electric utility bill and your gas bill. You're paying for it. And when I go out and do community events, and many times I equate it to, it's like having a savings account you've been putting money into all these years, and yet you're not using it.